The newlyweds sleep separately every day. One sleeps on the floor, the other on the bed, because they were forced to get married after only knowing each other for a day. But during their time together, they had already fallen in love with each other, but none of them said it out loud. Carl was lying on the floor, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Then the elders of the family knocked on the door. They put away the covers. They stood together and acted like a normal couple. It was Annie's aunt who heard the noise. She thought it was Carl, who was not used to the cold weather in the countryside. Carl explained, "The bed is warm." The aunt was relieved to leave, so as not to disturb her rest. The two of them had to share a small bed. This was the first time since they got married that they slept in the same bed. Carl couldn't help but praise his aunt in his heart. The next day, when Carl woke up, she was struck by the beauty of Anne's face, and then she looked at Annie's hands, was now resting on his body. Carl didn't want to take it away, and in a few moments, Annie woke up. She noticed that her hand was resting on his body, and she pulled her hand back, but she didn't know Carl was just pretending to be asleep. Annie carefully got up and prepared breakfast for Carl. Carl looked at Annie's back with love in his eyes. Annie prepared a simple meal with her own hands. Carl ate it with great relish. Afterwards, Carl took his aunt to the best hospital in the region. When he came back, Carl started chopping wood and built a new den for his aunt's dog. Annie couldn't believe it and asked Carl how he did it. "I majored in architecture. I've never built a house, but I can build a doghouse just fine." Carl loved his life. If he could, he'd like to stay here forever, and also found a brief respite here until the aunt recovered. It was time for them to go back. When the old woman saw that her son was back, she was immediately happy. But when she saw that and had come back with her smile froze. On the other side, the rich man also came back from the office and hurried home. Annie saw her father-in-law's car. She rushed forward to greet him, but the rich man had just said hello to Annie. Suddenly, he turned pale. He couldn't stand up. The rich man knew he was having a cancer attack. He told Annie not to let her family know. Annie had to call her driver to drag him to the car. Then they went to the hospital. Looking at the unconscious father-in-law, Annie was in tears. She prayed for her father-in-law's safety. Perhaps his prayers had worked. The rich man slowly woke up. Annie wanted to tell Carl, but the rich man insisted that Annie keep it a secret. Father-in-law told Annie, if Carl finds out, he'd tell everyone. At that point, my daughter was worried about my condition. I'm sure she won't be in the mood to keep working on her legs. In that case, her legs will lose their chance of recovery forever. So you must promise to keep my secret. I'll tell my family. I'll be away on business for a while. You should go home as soon as possible. Don't make them suspicious. Annie understood. She returned home feeling lost. She was devastated, but in front of the others, she pretended nothing had happened. Even when she cried, she had to hide and wipe her tears in secret. That night, Annie went to her sister's room. Her sister had already taken medicine and had fallen into a deep sleep. Suddenly, Annie felt sorry for her sister. She was so young, but she was confined to a wheelchair. She also understood why her father-in-law insisted on keeping her secret. The next day at dinner time, the butler brought special milk. Carl knew that Annie had a cold. Carl had asked the housekeeper to prepare it. The butler told Annie that if she drank this, her cold would soon be gone. When the old lady found out that Annie had a cold, she told the maid to take Annie to the hospital. Don't infect me at home. Annie didn't argue. She immediately got up and prepared to go. She could visit her father-in-law in the hospital. The rich man's condition seemed to have worsened. Annie couldn't help but cry when she saw her father-in-law. At that moment, the housekeeper came to the hospital. She had come to see Annie, but she realized that the people she really needed to visit were the rich man. The rich man said the same thing to the housekeeper. He told her to keep his secret. After that, Annie decided to let the housekeeper go home first. She stayed behind to take care of her father-in-law. On the other side, when Carl came home, he didn't see Annie. No one answered the phone. She thought maybe Annie was with her mother, but the old woman's phone was also unanswered. Carl got a little anxious. The next day, when Annie came home, Carl asked her where she'd been last night. You're going to have to give me an explanation today.